Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've recorded meetings and conventions here in Southern California since 1998. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994, and I got sober in a small town called Santa Maria. I moved to Los Angeles when I had 5 years sober and started recording meetings shortly after I got here. In 2013, I started recording conventions. So please enjoy the channel. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Just click right down there. Thank you.
Now, it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Bird.
Thanks, Robert. Hi, guys. My name is Bird. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic. Sober today by the grace of God, the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, the traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you so much, Rustum, for asking me to come here to this new spot. And it's an honor and a privilege to participate and be invited and included and be amongst my fellows, you know. I have alcoholism. I have a disease called alcoholism left untreated. I believe it's a mental illness. It's serious. It's kicked most of my family's ass and left to my personality and my need for credit and approval. I shot heroin for a lot of years and did a lot of damage and created a lot of havoc. And you hit a lot of bottoms of my using and drinking before I did. Welcome to the newcomer. Welcome to the returnees. There is a solution. There is a solution. It's outside of the problem. It's in a different place. The solution is not in the problem. The problem, I believe, my problem, across the board, is separation. Is separation. Is separation. So therefore, the solution is unity. You know, across the board. My solution is unity. To get with you. And the great thing about staying around here a little bit this time, and I came for a long time trying to get, you know, my beautiful sponsor saw me take my 30th 30-day chip, you know. Most of them were lies, and I was sponsoring people after shooting up and living in the back alley of a house. We used to call it a guest house because it had a little cover over it with blood-stained mattresses, and this is like as good as it got for me. The beautiful Hollywood junkie story. I don't have any big thing like, I don't know what happened. I drank and then ended up in Rio married to some, you know, guy. I kind of have that really, no, you're not invited in kind of story. You stay out on the curb. And it says in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that on page, I believe it's page 45, I'm pretty chronologically challenged, I'm probably going to hop around, but it says that the main purpose of this book is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself that will solve your problems. This is a pretty heavy-weighted sentence. And I kept reading that and seeing that and listening to you guys and getting high anyway. I work with a lot of women, I sponsor a lot of people, and I could really want for them, you know, aside from being a hall monitor, which I'm not that kind, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the kind that like snuck away from the hall monitor and smoked in the bathroom. But I don't really know what's exactly right for you or what your recipe is or what you need to do or what your evolution looks like, you know. I might care for you a lot and do a lot and pick you up and clean you up and care for you. It's my 12-step call. The message doesn't stay alive if it's not transmitted. You're my 12-step call. If it's good enough for you, let it be good enough for me. I have to remember this with the women that I work with. Alcoholics Anonymous said, one drunk to another, and in that relating, the fear and the judgment and the separation dissipate long enough for me to get with you for a minute. For me to get with you for a minute so that the differences don't threaten me. So that I stop giving you the job, the outside world, you know, the job and the weight of giving me my security and self-esteem. Because you don't want that job, and it's too big of a job, and it can't be fulfilled by the outside world, you know, because my life is simply an outpicturing of my mind. So Alcoholics Anonymous gives me this format to live by, which I can't outgrow. How cool, thank God. And I haven't had a drink this time since I am so grateful for AA. I am so grateful there's a solution to everything all the time, and it's outside my constricted, stunted mind with this thinned-out rebellion that keeps repeating where I come from. I was raised by a schizophrenic father, and I woke up most of the time confused and scared, and I really thought when I got here, I was certainly, obviously, an addict, because they just called us the addicts in those days and kind of shoved us, like, I don't know, into the carpet, or what do you do with people like us? You know what I mean? We wear everybody out. And I didn't have, the means to get anywhere except for Sybil Brand. And God, you know, and I'm so glad to let the newcomer know, or the returnee know, or anybody with less or more time with me, that we're not here to treat your circumstances. We're here to help you treat your thinking. You know, we're here to help you treat your thinking, because all we really know about the truth is what we understand. And what I understand, I demonstrate in my life. So my life and my understanding of God and of you guys keeps changing, so it keeps expanding. And I'm telling you, and some of you know me from when I'm new, you know, and I was just like, the most apathetic. They called me catatonic, one of the doctors. Well, you know, they said that you're of a hopeless variety and we can't do anything with you. And I love my life. I love the way that I think. I love the way that I struggle. I love the way that I love my son. I love the way that I accept people. I love my life. This is good news, you know. And I come here afraid, you know, so with growing up the way that I grew up, everybody has their story. And I'm going to tell you something. What I really found out staying here is that I have a progressive disease. So for this 18 plus years, my disease is also progressing. And I'm not a drug addict and an alcoholic because my father was schizophrenic, or because I'm an incest survivor, or because I went to 17 schools. I was always the new tomboy chick in class trying to kind of like prove myself but be quiet and not be seen and all that stuff. And it's scary coming into big new places for me. And most of the time, you know, it's like that whole great thing I learned in whenever in my life. It's like, what are they going to think of me? Well, they're not. You know. They're not, clearly, not very often are we thinking of one another, unless I'm like pissed off at you or you have what I want or whatever, because I'm so busy. But, so that's a relief, you know what I mean? So I get back to my responsibility instead of taking credit or needing credit. I take responsibility so that I can change the very dynamic of the generational patterns that went on in my family's life. Maybe it's good enough that I haven't had a drink in 18 years. For my son, I don't know what's going to happen, you know. It took my family a long time. We're also like everybody. We've gone to a lot of memorials, and one of them in the past few years, my father, and I've had 2 sisters die, and my sister went ahead and married a man named Bruce. My father's name was Bruce, and he's been diagnosed in the last 3 years with schizophrenia. I've grown around a lot of, this is an intense fucking mental illness we have. You think we're intense? Try schizophrenia. And I wish that he could sit up front, that my father could sit up front and thank the speaker and get a big book and, you know, think, oh God, well there's worse problems. There's people being bombed in the world. We should just all be, you know, get into our, you know, Mercedes and BMWs and be grateful, you know. And this guy can barely hang on for his life. And I have compassion. Alcoholics Anonymous has given me compassion for the human race, and I really believe we're all doing the best we can, you know. I used to say, yeah, but they didn't do good enough, you know, because it was scary the way that I grew up. And it took a long time for us to kind of get as a family like, oh, you mean being driven around by, being picked up by, I don't talk about this much about my story very much because it's just too whatever, it's personal, and being picked up by limousines and having security guards and being like our phones being bugged and moving all the time. By the time my mother moved in with me recently, just got diagnosed with lung cancer, and we helped her through this, my son and I, and it's like that was her 47th move or something since she met my father. I mean, this is just the way that we, you know, the sick person rules the fucking roost. We all live around the sick person. It's the most Velcroed, powerful thing in the world, illness, you know. And it took us a long time to figure out, oh, that was just the schizophrenia. We weren't under the family protection program. I can't tell you how many times we moved because we weren't supposed to be where we were for no apparent reason, you know what I mean? So I grew up confused, and I came here, and there was a linear thing going on here. They said 1 through 12. Your problem is lack of power, you know? It doesn't mean you have no power, you're not creative, you don't create your existence. It says you're less powerful than alcohol and drugs. It's obvious, it's adherence to facts. It's adherence to facts. My only relief, I'm here personally, because drugs and alcohol don't work. They don't work. I loved them when they work. I love alcohol. I love heroin. You know, I'm one of those like snobs that like puts down cocaine addicts and speed freaks, but I did speed every single day for 11 years, you know what I mean? To try to get over, like, and get to work from the, you know. And the only time that I could get relief was that 1 second before overdose. That's pretty heavy. I was stretched out inside. I didn't have any, it didn't take anymore, didn't work anymore, doesn't work anymore. I have to remember that, you know. Because there's been a lot of times, and a lot of heartbreaks, and a lot of disappointments, and a lot of confusions, and a lot of rebellion, you know, and a lot of meeting up with things I have no tools for because I didn't grow up watching, you know, imperfection. And I'm so glad there's a solution. I'm so glad there's a solution to everything all the time. It's outside of the problem, you know. So my problem is lack of power. My solution is a power greater than myself, step 2. You know, some of you know my story. I don't know a lot of you here tonight, but after so many trial and errors of trying to stay clean and get the monkey off my back and then all of that stuff, and I said, I gotta go, and I had all this guilt and weight on me, and I said, I have to get on a plane. I always wanted to travel the world and write short stories and just kind of observe. I'm an observer, you know what I mean? And I could never get up off the floor or get a suitcase together because I was always like selling and copying and getting sick and, you know, to try to like go anywhere. How do you travel? I don't even understand that. People were like, well, you ended up in Rio, and, you know, they had all these big careers. I wasn't that girl. I don't know, for whatever reason. Maybe because I started when I was 12 and didn't develop any kind of life outside of lying and copying, and we used to call it sneaking into houses. I would sneak into people's houses and watch how they lived, like a creep. You know what I mean? Like as a young girl, you know what I mean? Creep in and just watch how people lived, like a short story or something. And this is what eventually that turns out to be called robbery, if you take something on the way out. So I started getting arrested for it. But we used to say, let's go sneak into, you know, the Morris's house, you know, as in Philip Morris. And watch how other people live. Because I had this bizarre kind of, it looked like Leave It to Beaver, and it felt like blue velvet on the inside. And so crazy confusion. So I loved AA because it was linear, and I can always recognize truth. The little that I knew about it, that I was worn out from my lies, you know what I mean? And from covering up and the exhaustion of living like that. And I recognized truth. With all that saturation, I recognized truth. And it was linear, and they said 1 through 12. First, you're going to adhere to facts, not agree and approve, you know, but adherence to facts. This doesn't work. You're less powerful than drugs and alcohol, you know. It's evident your life is unmanageable. You know, I'm hiding in bushes, I'm scared, I'm sick, I'm, you know, the paranoia of like somebody looking in the window. Well, they were looking in the window, and I did get busted like, I mean, I had all those like grady, gross stories that, you know, by that time they weren't fun things to write in your journal. They were absolutely terrifying, and I was always in trouble. And doesn't it feel good to not be in trouble? Yes! Oh. Feels so good to not be in trouble. And I still always feel like there's the hall monitor ready to tell me, you know, you're in the wrong place at the right time, and you're in the way, and you're in trouble, and they saw you, and you're busted, and you don't make sense, and all that stuff. But that's only when I'm in fear, and, you know, I'm not with you, you know. And I'm so glad to be able to get with you, you know, to get intimate in my own life, to not feel so separate and unglued that I need you to make me feel whole and complete. That whole that we're talking about, I don't feel it very often anymore. And I have a hard life. Guess what? Life is hard. You know, I haven't been given a real big, easy life. I look at it like I love it. I have what I want. I feel like I won the fucking lottery. You know, I take a look at Boston Powers, our son. Some of you know him. And I have won the lottery. You know. And step 2 tells me, you know, so I hop on a plane to do this like traveling that I can finally do, to go quickly to the amends, because I want to get the guilt off my back. It wasn't about repair or you you know what I mean? Or changing my position or my actions. It was about getting the guilt and remorse off my back quickly. And my first amends, I met my beautiful now sponsor of 18 years. She was coming into a French restaurant that I think I was bartending at, and I had so been confused of who I was and what. I lived with these Spanish people for years, and they were my drug dealers and my girlfriend and my boyfriend, and we were all a unit, and they kept me high, and I kept them happy, and it was a big fucking mess, actually, but we did, I did, like, somehow think I was Spanish. So I would all of a sudden, I started lying out in the city, in the club world, you know, I come from the nightclub world, and, you know, and pretty soon I kind of thought that I was Spanish, and I would only speak Spanish, and I would, you know, all of a sudden I was a Spanish woman with Carmen and Jose, and we all had these kids, and I started lying and saying that I had these kids, because what I really wanted to do was be from somewhere else, live a different person's life, and have some kids. You know what I mean? And I had to make this amends to my customer 2 seconds before Carrie White walked in one time when I ended up. Just my biggest dream was to be able to wear long sleeves. I mean, to be able to wear short sleeves in the summer, right? That's what we had in common. And I had to make this amends to this. I didn't even know what amends were, but I was clean again for a few weeks, and I went up to this customer. I said, look, I have to tell you something. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm American. I have no children. I'm 25, and I've been lying to you all this time. She's just like, what? Why? And I said, I don't know, because you kept asking me how my kids were and when you're going back to Villalba and when you're, you know what I mean? So anyways, I got on this plane, and I went to Spain to amend this pretty horrific damage that I had been a part of in this family unit, and for a couple of weeks, and I went there and I didn't treat my disease. See, the thing is that I have the kind of disease that needs to be treated. It's serious, it's thirsty, it's hungry. It needs to be treated by drugs and alcohol, or for me, by spiritual maintenance. And spirituality to me doesn't have to necessarily look like the Bodhi tree. It means to lighten up, you know, to lighten up, to care for, to get in the moment, to be relieved from the bondage of self. This is the biggest gift we offer around here. You know, we're not here to treat your circumstances, we're here to treat your thinking. Help you, guide you. This is what I did, you know. Whatever amount of, you know, shenanigans you want to do in between, it's all good, you know. Step 2, came to believe that a power, and I always felt undeserving or unlike it was too late for me, that I was, you know, whatever. And I had a nervous breakdown in Spain. I stayed 2 weeks to Zip in 6 months because I fell in love with another Spanish guy, and I had a nervous breakdown in Villalba in northern Spain. No one spoke any English at all, and my story is that this is my step 2 story. That I went into a little pub and I got on my knees and I prayed more sincerely than I've ever prayed in my life. I am going to get high again. I was the one they shook their heads at the morning meeting in the log cabin. You know, I was going to get high again because I don't know how to not get high. I don't know how to not get to drink. I was on the plane and I was ordering a drink, and the woman behind me said, "Excuse me, is that a big book under your seat?" And was celebrating her 15-year. I mean, God, it's constantly. Miracles aren't just like lucky things that once in a while we trip onto. They're happening all the time, consecutively, without fail, every second, all the time. Heart beating, breath, all the time, every second. When I'm available to it, I step on in. You know, it's not Vegas. This isn't for the lucky ones. Please participate and apply the program, and it will be activated, and a healing will produce itself within you and in your life. Your vision will change, your life will change, and I'm still standing in Hollywood, and I'm still a single parent in an apartment, and I still don't have a savings account, and I'm 44 years old, and I love my life. Anyway, I love my life. So step 2 is, I said, I know I'm going to get high again, God. I don't know how to live like this. I have so many demons and so much shame and so much need to put solve on this, you know. So sensitive. And Pepe, my now love for the Spain trip, was like, I don't know, you know, smoking pot doesn't get alcoholism. And I said, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to count to 10. I'm going to sit down. And I'm where I always want to be all my life, in my dream head, in my own self. I'm in a place where there's no Americans talking. I'm always exhausted about talking. And I sit down, and there's a castle, and it's raining, and there's cobblestone, and there's a beautiful Latin guy next to me. And I am fucking out of my mind in pain, and I'm going to get drunk and get high again. And I said, I'm going to count to 10, and I'm going to have go get back into the pub and get drunk and then find the score, you know, anywhere we can find it, anywhere. And I got to 3, and 3 Americans, now some of you from America, from Los Angeles, 3 Americans walk around the corner. I'm in northern Spain in Villalba. I don't even know if you guys know where that is. Walk around the corner and say, "Bird, oh my God, what are you doing here?" I'm like, first reaction, because it's like the only good thing is the drive to the dealer, you know what I mean? And the rest is fucking a nightmare after that. It was like I was on the drive to the dealer, you know what I mean? And they came, these Americans, to celebrate this 1-year birthday. They're taking care of a friend's house in Villalba, Spain. Like, first I was so disappointed and fucking freaked, you know what I mean? And then I was quickly, I don't have to understand this all at once and swallow this whole thing. And it's not my job to decide good or bad 7-step prayer. It's not my job. Get out of your own way. You are needed here for whatever you think. Stay here. Came to believe that a power greater than me and my solution of chemicals was here to provide for me, and always had been, and always will be. Get out of your own way. So then I could make a decision, step 3. I made 1,000 decisions. I was the girl that when I had a place to live, I had alarm clocks set around every 3 hours to go off so that I wouldn't wake up. This is all our plans, you know what I mean? So exhausting. Sick enough so I would catch myself before I was too sick so that I could be well enough to go cop so I wouldn't get sick enough. I mean, I had this whole kind of like thing worked out so that I was never out too long so that I could, I don't know. It was exhausting, and I always made these decisions, and it was always going to be by midnight. You know, by midnight I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop all chemical use of all kinds. You know, people were getting sick of me, and I was living on couches, and I was like getting in out of the rain from, and my French boyfriend did go to prison for a nice 6 fat years, and my drug dealer went to prison for a big 9 years, and I was kind of left alone. I kept deciding to stop drinking and using. Welcome to the newcomer. You know, I couldn't, personally for me, keep a decision until I admitted, came to believe, and then I decide on a daily basis. Because my trust isn't uninterrupted. I have a human condition. I have alcoholism. I have femaleness. I have PMS. I have fear. I have judgment. I have a constricted and stunted view of you and myself and my place in the world. And I get scared. And then I have to recommit and turn my will and my life over to the most largest God in the, it's bigger than my human understanding. I am so provided for and so cared for. The way that I love Boston. All the time, no matter what. Even with his new hormone, I have a girlfriend, self. Mother of a preteen. And I'm not top dog anymore, and it's hurting. And my son's father is sober. And maybe 2 oranges don't make a pear or whatever, but maybe this pear will provide some consciousness and a place soft to land. I don't know the deal. That guy, John's son, who took a cake, killed me. I love that, you know. Disease runs through the family. Solution runs through the family. So I made a decision, and I turn my will, and I do that daily, you know, so that I can finally do the forbidden, voodooed 4-step and get current and clean. All you have to do is do it to pass, you know what I mean? You're going to do like 1,000,000 more and get deeper and understand it better so I can get to my part, because my part, my column, was the way that I was trying to give myself, my self-esteem, my correct sexual and personal relationships, my ambition, and my security. It wore out. The character that I was using defected and wore out. I started with dishonesty. I started with fear. This is how I was giving myself my security, self-esteem, right personal relations, sex relations, and ambition. It wore out. It doesn't work anymore. I got to change here. If you want to keep doing what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing. So that I could get responsible and I could get unvictimized. You know, unvictimized. It's not your fault. You know? And you don't tell a child when you're 5 and you're getting beaten up and you're getting suffocated and you're getting sexually abused that's what's your part in that. My sponsor never had me say, well, my part was, she helped me heal from that. You know. So I could do the 4 steps, so I could do the 5th step and include, so I could get off of, I always thought it was God, you guys, and then me alone. I always thought everybody else was over here at the party and it was God, and then it was me alone, and I got to be included in the God as I understand him. You know. So life is good, and I got to mend and repair and get current and get in the moment. You know, and I just hiked the Grand Canyon for the 2nd time this year, you know, from this like smoking like junkie. Life is good. about to go to Africa to hike Kilimanjaro. I love Rustin for asking me, trial and error. We've tried this a few times, and then I have to rush off to Nashville to my schizophrenic family and help out, because now I'm the one that they call for help. Isn't that funny? And I really welcome the newcomer. We're here for you. We're here for you. Life is good. Thank you for asking.
Wow. I'd like to thank Marcos for reading chapter 5, John for reading the 12 traditions.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.